कक्षा 11 मा पढ्ने विद्यार्थी भाइ बहिनीहरुलाई मेरो यस YouTube च्यानल ड्रिम्स लर्निङ जोनमा स्वागत छ। आजको यस भिडियोमा म कम्पलसरी इंग्लिशको लिटरेचर सेक्सन अन्तर्गत युनिट 1 को सर्ट स्टोरीज अन्तर्गत तेस्रो नम्बरको स्टोरी गॉड सेज द ट्रुथ बट वेट्स को एक्सरसाइज लिएर आएको छु। यसमा मैले यस टेक्स्टसँग सम्बन्धित सम्पूर्ण क्वेशनहरुको एन्सरहरु लिएर आएको छु। विद्यार्थी भाइ बहिनीहरुले यो एन्सरलाई हेर्नु होला र आफैले यस्तै खालको एन्सरहरु लेख्ने कोसिस गर्नु होला। हामीलाई यहाँ फर्स्टमा बिफोर रिडिङ भनेर तीनटा क्वेशनहरु सोधिएको छ। एन्सर दिस क्वेशन्स। सो पढ्नु भन्दा अगाडि हामीले गर्नुपर्ने तीनटा क्वेशनहरु दिएको छ। जस्तै फर्स्टमा छ व्हाट डज द टाइटल अफ द स्टोरी मीन। यो कथाको शीर्षकको मिनिङ के हो, यो भन्नाले के बुझ्नुहुन्छ भनेर क्वेशन गरेको छ। द टाइटल अफ द स्टोरी गॉड सेज द ट्रुथ बट वर्ड्स मीन्स दैट व्हाटएवर डिड्स वी do are being watched by the God. No matter we do good or bad, one day God rewards or punishes. भन्नाले यो स्टोरीले के भन्छ भने हामीले गरेको जुन काम छ, राम्रो अथवा नराम्रो काम, त्यसलाई गॉडले वाच गरेर बसिरहेको हुन्छ र जुन राम्रो काम अथवा नराम्रो काम, जस्तै नो म्याटर वी डू गुड और ब्याड, वान डे गॉड रिवार्ड्स और पनिशेस। हाम्रो काम अनुसार राम्रो काम गर्यो भने हामीलाई रिवार्ड र ब्याड काम गर्यो भने पनिशमेन्ट गॉडले दिनुहुन्छ। पीयू रिवार्ड, गुड वर्क को रिवार्ड्स हुन्छ भने ब्याड वर्क को पनिशमेन्ट यो हामीले चाहिँ भोग्नु पर्छ। तर द ट्रू जस्टिस इज इन द ह्यान्ड्स अफ गॉड है। यो ट्रू जस्टिस चाहिँ गॉड को हातमा हुन्छ, त्यो ह्युमन बीइङ को कन्ट्रोलमा हुँदैन। एन्ड बट ही डज नट डिक्लेयर इन्स्ट्यान्टली। तर त्यसको चाहिँ जुन हामीले भोग्नुपर्ने फल तुरुन्तै हुँदैन, केही टाइम लाग्छ, हामीले वेट गर्नुपर्छ। गॉडले पनिशमेन्ट अथवा रिवार्ड गर्छन्, तर टाइम लाग्छ है, हामीले वेट गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने कुरा छ। इज इट फेयर टु पनिश द इनोसेन्ट पिपल इन द नेम अफ जस्टिस। यो न्यायको नाममा इनोसेन्ट मान्छेहरूलाई जुन किसिमको सजाय दिइन्छ, त्यो चाहिँ नि के फेयर छ त, त्यो ठीक हो त, यो यस्तो कुराहरु फेयर छ कि छैन त। सो वी सी सेभरल इनोसेन्ट पिपल गेट पनिशमेन्ट अफ इम्प्रिजनमेन्ट फर द सो कल्ड क्राइम दे आर चार्ज्ड अफ। हामीले देखेका छौं धेरै इनोसेन्ट मान्छेहरूलाई पनिशमेन्ट दिएको छ, कारबाही गरिएको छ। उनीहरु फसेका हुन्छन् विभिन्न किसिमको क्राइममा, नगर्दा पनि उनलाई चाहिँ फस्छन् अथवा चाहिँ विभिन्न किसिमको एभिडेन्सहरुले गर्दाखेरि, विभिन्न किसिमको सर्कमस्टेन्सेसले गर्दाखेरि उनीलाई चार्ज गरिन्छ। द फ्लज अफ जस्टिस क्यान रुइन। तर यो गलत जुन किसिमको जस्टिस हुन्छ, यो जस्टिसको नाममा जुन पनिश गरिन्छ गलत व्यक्तिलाई, त्यसले के गर्छ भने जस्टिस क्यान रुइन द लाइफ अफ पिपल हु आर ट्र्याप्ड इन क्राइम्स व्हिच दे हैव नट कमिटेड। इनोसेन्ट पिपल मे रुइन, आफ्नो लाइफ उनीहरूले बर्बाद गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ। नगरेको क्राइममा पनि फस्नु पर्दाखेरि इनोसेन्ट पिपलहरूले आफ्नो लाइफलाई चाहिँ रुइन गरेको हुन्छन्। त्यो चाहिँ जस्टिसको नाममा चाहिँ कसैको लाइफ बर्बाद हुन्छ। त्यसकारण यो राम्रो काम चाहिँ होइन, यो न्याय, यो चाहिँ जायज काम चाहिँ होइन। डु यु बिलिभ ड्रिम्स माइट प्रेडिक्ट द टेरिबल फेट अफ अ पर्सन। के मान्छेको फेट, टेरिबल फेटलाई चाहिँ ड्रिमले प्रेडिक्ट गर्छ त, संकेत गर्छ त। कुनै ड्रिम देख्दाखेरि त्यो ड्रिमले चाहिँ कुनै मान्छेको फेटलाई प्रेडिक्ट गरेको हुन्छ कि हुँदैन भन्ने क्वेशन छ। जस्तै बिलिभ गर्छ कि गर्दैन भनेर सोधिएको छ। यसमा अ ड्रिम इज अ सक्सेसन अफ इमेजेस। अब ड्रिम के हो भन्दाखेरि ड्रिम चाहिँ खास गरी इज अ सक्सेसन अफ इमेजेस, आइडियाज, इमोसन्स एन्ड सेन्सेसन्स दैट युजुअली अकर इनभोलुन्टरीली इन द माइन्ड ड्युरिङ सर्टेन स्टेजेस अफ स्लिप। हामी सुत्दाखेरि हाम्रो माइन्डमा आउने विभिन्न किसिमको इमेजहरु, आकृतिहरु, इमोसन्सहरु, यो सेन्सेसन्सहरु, त्यसलाई हामी ड्रिम भन्छौं। द कन्टेन्ट एन्ड फंक्सन अफ ड्रिम्स आर नट फुल्ली अन्डरस्टुड। तर यो ड्रिममा भएको कुराहरु हामी सबै बुझ्न सक्दैनौं, यसको कार्यहरु हामी बुझ्न सक्दैनौं। अल्दो दे हैव बीन अ टपिक अफ साइन्टिफिक, फिलोसोफिकल एन्ड रिलिजियस इन्ट्रेस्ट। तर यसले चाहिँ यो वैज्ञानिकहरुको, जस्तै दार्शनिकहरुको र रिलिजियस चाहिँ इन्ट्रेस्ट ड्र गरेको हुन्छ। थ्रु आउट द रेकर्डेड हिस्ट्री, हैन, मोस्ट अफ पिपल अक्रस द वर्ल्ड country believe in dream र यो विश्वका धेरै जस्तो मान्छेले ड्रिममा विश्वास गर्छन् ड्रिम इन्टरप्रिटेसनमा because there is connection, त्यहाँ कनेक्सन पाउँछन्. द अफ ड्रिम कन्टेन्ट टु द रियल लाइफ इन्सिडेन्ट्स, यो ड्रिममा भएको घटनाहरू र रियल लाइफमा कनेक्सनहरू हुन्छ, त्यहाँ मिल्न जान्छ. त्यसले गर्दाखेरि मान्छेहरूले विश्वास गर्छन्. लेट इट से सम कोइन्सिडेन्स अर फुलफिलमेन्ट अफ ड्रिम, सायद ड्रिमको अनुसार फुलफिलमेन्ट होस् अथवा चाहिँ त्यो संयोग होस्. आई हेभ अल्सो फाउन्ड सम कनेक्सन्स बिट्विन द ड्रिम कन्टेन्ट एन्ड द रियल लाइफ इन्सिडेन्ट्स, मैले पनि यस्तो पाएको छु जुन कनेक्सनहरू भएको ड्रिम र रियल लाइफ इन्सिडेन्ट्समा. त्यसकारण सो आई बिलिभ ड्रिम प्रेडिक्ट आइदर द टेरिबल अर फ्रुटफुल फेट अफ अ राइटरको बारेमा छ जुन मैले अघिल्लो भिडियोमा भनिसकेको छु, लियो टोल्स्टोको बारेमा. स्टोरी, यो सर्ट स्टोरी हो. स्टोरीको बारेमा ल्याङ्ग्वेज रसियन ल्याङ्ग्वेजमा लेखेको छ र अल्मेर माउडले ट्रान्सलेट गरेको इङ्ग्लिसमा. सेटिङ यो समर टाइम यो भ्लाडिमिर सर्बिया भन्ने जुन रसियाको सहरमा घट्छ घटना. नेरेसन थर्ड पर्सन पोइन्ट अफ भ्यूमा लेखेको छ र यसको थिमहरू गिल्ट, दोष, फर्गिभनेस, फेथ, कन्फ्लिक्ट, फ्रिडम, एक्सेप्टेन्स हो. र क्यारेक्टर्समा यो इभान डिमिट्रिच एक्सिनोभ, उसको वाइफ, एनदर मर्चेन्ट, मार्कर स्याम्युनिच, गभर्नर, पुलिसम्यान आदि छन्. र मेन क्यारेक्टर चाहिँ नि इभान डिमिट्रिच एक्सिनोभ र यो मार्कर स्याम्युनिच चाहिँ नि यसको मेन पात्रहरू हुन्. यो डिमिट्रिच एक्सियोनोभ चाहिँ नि यो प्रोटागोनिस्ट हो भने यो मार्कर स्याम्युनिच चाहिँ नि एन्टागोनिस्ट हो स्टोरीको. यो राम्रो पात्र र खराब पात्रहरू हुन्. अब यसको समरी पनि छ. म समरी पढ्न गइरहेको छु. इन द रसियन टाउन अफ भ्लाडिमिर, Ivan Dmitrich Aksinov lives as a successful merchant with his wife and young children. One summer, as Aksionov sets off for Nizhny Fair to sell his goods, Aksinov's wife warns him not to go, for she has had a nightmare in which he returned with a grey hair. नराम्रो किसिमको सपना देखेको छ जसमा बुढेसकालमा बुढेसकाल लागेको अथवा चाहिँ कपालहरू फुलेको त्यस्तो खालको व्यक्ति भएर उ रिटर्न हुन्छ घरमा पछि त्यो देखेको हुन्छ सपनामा. Aksinov laughs off her concern that the nightmare was premonition and interprets the dream as a sign of luck हो भनेर भन्छ. Halfway into the town, Aksinov encounters a fellow merchant with whom he stops for the night at an inn. The men have tea together and sleep in adjoining rooms. Aksinov rises before dawn and sets off with his horses and coachman while the air is cool. After 25 miles, he stops to feed his horses. During this break, two soldiers and an official arrive and begin questioning Aksinov about his relationship with the man he had tea with the night before. The merchant was found dead with his throat cut. Since two rooms were next to each other, it seems only natural that Aksinov might know something. Aksinov trembles in fear when the official searches his belongings and removes a knife stained with blood. The men bind and arrest Aksinov. His wife visits him in jail and faints at the sight of him dressed as a criminal. He says they must petition the Tsar, as the emperor, king, to which she says she has already tried to no avail. She asks him if he committed the murder, and Aksinov weeps. If even his wife suspects him, he thinks after she leaves. Then only God knows the truth, and it is only to God that he should appeal. He puts his faith in God and accepts his sentencing and ceremonial flogging. Korane. He is sent to work in the Serbian mines. Over 26 years in Serbia, Aksinov transforms into a pious old man. He becomes a religious spiritual. He turns himself to be a spiritual person. His hair turns white, his beard grows long, he walks with a difficulty. He never laughs. He prays often. And among other prisoners, he develops a reputation as a meek and fair man. One day, a newly arrived inmate named Makar Semyonich, another main character of the story, who is about the same age as Aksinov and from the same hometown. So he is about same age, means 60 years old. He was suspected of stealing a horse when in reality he had only borrowed it. Nevertheless, he was convicted and imprisoned. The irony is that he had gotten away with doing something much worse earlier in his life. Aksinov responsible for framing him. He questions Semyonich, who cryptically responds in a way that confirms Aksinov's suspicion. Aksinov remembers everything he has lost and he is plunged into misery. He longs for a way to get revenge but resolves to stay away from the man or even look in his direction. After 2 weeks unable to sleep, Aksinov takes a walk near the prison to discover Semyonich digging a tunnel under his sleeping self. Semyonich angrily offers Aksinov escape and threatens to kill him should he tell the authorities about the tunnel. Aksinov says Semyonich has already taken his life and he shall do as God directs him. Soldiers discover the tunnel. The next day, the governor arrives to question prisoners, none of whom admit to knowing anything about the tunnel. After wrestling with his desire for vengeance, Aksinov declines to say that what he knows about Semyonich's involvement, even if it means that he will be punished himself. That night, Aksinov is about to nod off in his bunk when Semyonich sits down beside him. Semyonich bends over and whispers a plea for forgiveness. He confesses that it was he who killed the other merchant and stole his money. He then planted the knife so that Aksinov would become the suspect. He falls to his knee and begs for forgiveness, promising to confess the crime so that Aksinov will go free. The old man replies that his life is already over and he has nowhere to go. At the sight of Semyonich's tears, Aksinov weeps himself. Semyonich begs again for forgiveness. Aksinov tells him that God will forgive him and that perhaps he himself is 100 times worse. Having said this, Aksinov feels a lightness enter his body. He no longer desires to go home or leave the prison. He wants only to die. The story ends with Semyonich confessing to the governor. By the time the officials arrange Aksinov's release, Aksinov has already died. अब हाम्रो बुकको क्वेसनहरु छ अन्डरस्ट्यान्डिङ द टेक्स्ट सम्बन्धी क्वेसनहरु छ. फर्स्टमा what bad habit did Aksinov have before marriage? बिहा भन्दा अगाडि उसको bad habit के थियो रे? Aksinov, the principal character of the story, had a habit of having alcohol before his marriage. He used to be riotous when he used to have too much alcohol. What can be the meaning of his wife's dream? Though there is no scientific connection of the happenings in dream to reveal world, however, people believe that there would be good or bad incidents according to the objects, people or incidents they see in their dream. Aksinov bade goodbye to his wife before he left for Nizhny Fair. Meanwhile, she tried to stop him because of a bad dream, nightmare she saw about him. She saw his hair turn quite grey when he took off his cap after returning from the town. In reality, he was arrested for a crime which he had not committed, and he spent his 26 years of his life in a jail in Serbia. That was really a great misfortune to him. Before he was released from the jail, he became so old his hair turned into grey. The dream was quite bad dream because it was premonition of his tragic fate. Why did Aksinov think of killing himself? When Aksinov was sure that Makar Semyonich had killed the merchant, he recalled all his memories of his past happy life, the floggings, the chains, the convicts, and all 26 years of his life in prison, making him premature old age. All these thoughts made him feel bad, so he was ready to kill himself. Why did Makar disclose that he had killed the merchant? Merchantलाई मारेको भन्ने कुरा किन उले भन्छ? The Makar Semyonich, the real murderer of another merchant from Rezan, was brought in Serbia in a charge of stealing a horse. Makar was secretly digging a hole under the wall which was seen by Demetrius, but he did not tell the governor that Semyonich was the person who was digging the hole. So Semyonich disclosed the truth to confess and to ask forgiveness. Why doesn't during his 26 years of prison life, all had forgotten him, even his children. His wife is also dead. The one reason why he doesn't wish to return his house is he is homeless, and another reason is he has dedicated his life to God and was expecting angels of God to come down the earth to take him to heaven. Reference to the context. Well, old man, replied the governor, tell me the truth, who has been digging under the wall? So who is that old man? Your old man भनेको को हो? So the old man is Ivan Dmitrievich Aksinov. Which truth is the speaker asking about? The speaker, governor, speaker भयो लाइनमा. अनि के सत्यको बारेमा बोल्दैछ? The speaker is asking about the truth of digging a hole under the wall of the jail. स्पिकरले भन्न खोजेको वाल कुन हो? The speaker means the main wall of the prison. The speaker means the main wall of the prison. Describe Askinov's character. Ivan Dmitrievich Aksinov is the protagonist of the story, and the whole story revolves around him. He was a man of dashing personality, full of fun, having keen interest in singing. He had a habit of having alcohol. Would be riotous when he had too much. He had too much. He was a merchant, and after marriage he left drinking habit. He didn't believe in superstition, but one day he was arrested in a charge of murdering another merchant from Rezan. He was found to be guilty by the verdict, as strong evidence of the murder was found in his bag. He was flogged and sent to jail. He was also suspected by his wife, who made him feel sad. He dedicated his life to the God, expecting only he knows the truth. He was sent to jail in Serbia, where there is so cold and prisoners suffer a lot. The grieved never laughed and only prayed to the God. Prison authority liked his meekness, and other prisoners respected him. Later he found another prisoner in the same jail who dug a hole to escape from there. Then he knew the person who dug the hole under the wall of jail. He had pity on him. However, he had pity on him. The real murderer of the merchant disclosed the truth, which made him feel sad and thought of killing himself. At last he forgave Makar Semyonich, and before he was about to release, after the confession made by the Makar Semyonich, Makar Aksinov died. What is the theme of the story? Story ko theme ke ho? The main theme of the story is forgiveness. After Aksinov declines to inform on Semunis' tunnel digging, Semunis is so shaken by Aksinov's demonstration of mercy that he seeks Aksinov's forgiveness for framing him with some reluctance. Aksinov finally grants Semunis Gerd's forgiveness, simultaneously suggesting that for all he knows, in Gerd's eye, he himself may be 100 times worse than Semunis. To utter these words is Aksinov's suffering. The act of forgiveness proves to be not only for Semunis. To forgive the man also frees Aksinov of his burden of resenting Semunis and wishing his life hadn't turned out as it had. After forgiving Semunis, Aksinov is free to move on the afterlife. On to the afterlife. Which symbols are used in the story? What the most important symbols in this short story are Aksinov's house, his two shops, and the Serbian prison mine, where he is sentenced to hard labor. His house and two shops represent his family, his material possessions, and his earthly affairs. Aksinov's wife visits him when he is initially imprisoned in the nearest town, having been accused of murdering the merchant who shared an inn room with him. Aksinov can only wait for his fate. When his own wife doubts his innocence, he is devastated. At this point in the story, we see that Aksinov is starting to realize that he can no longer trust in anyone of the things he has depended on in his life. He cannot depend on his material wealth to prove his innocence, and sadly, he also cannot depend on the woman he is married to for loyalty in a time of great need. The prison itself is a symbol of his suffering and his eventual spiritual transformation. When Aksinov realized that Makar was the one who framed him for the merchant's murder, he suffers all the mental agonies of the wronged. Should he now expose Makar for his tunnel digging escape project and enjoy a belated revenge for the suffering of the last 26 years? Well, Aksinov eventually decides that he is going to let bygones to be bygones. He refuses to incriminate Makar. Makar is so touched that he confesses everything to Aksinov and begs for forgiveness. Through this simple act of forgiveness, Aksinov is finally able to obtain peace. His focus is not now towards the eternal. Reference beyond the text. What roles does religion play in Aksinov's life? How does he undergo a spiritual transformation in this story? Even Dimitri's Aksinov is the main character of this story. The story shows a carefree person changing into a true religious person. In the past, Aksinov was relying on material things. He had two shops, one house of his own, and dedicated to earn money selling goods. He had been living a happy familial life with his wife and children, but one incident brings him changed in his character. He becomes a victim of false conviction and injustice. He was charged of killing another merchant from Rezan and stealing his 20,000 rubles. For the supposed crime, he is sent off to a hard labor camp in Serbia, where he meets the man who actually committed the crime. Aksinov's pity causes the man to truly repent of his misdeed. Aksinov does have a spiritual transformation in the story, and interestingly enough, it is when things seem darkest. After the police arrest him and he is thrown into prison, his wife and children come to visit him, and even his wife implies that she thinks he is guilty. When she leaves, Askinov realizes that the God only God can know the truth in any situation, and only God can grant mercy. Askinov remains a convict in Serbia for 26 years. His hair turns white, he loses his strength, he no longer laughs, but he continues to pray. He reads a book called The Lives of the Saints and goes to church on Sundays. He is respected not only by the fellow prisoners but also by the prison authorities. When Askinov realizes that the real murderer, convicted of a different crime, has come to his camp in Serbia, he has a strong desire for vengeance. However, he does not turn his mimesis in when the authorities find an escape tunnel he has dug. When the governor of the prison questions him, Askinov only declares that he cannot say because it is not God's will. Seeing Askinov's sincerity and pity, the murderer confesses so that Askinov can be released. But by the time the release order comes, Askinov has died. We see then that Askinov has a spiritual transformation early in his ordeal, and it is his religion that sustains him through 26 years of suffering in the Serbian prison camp. What does the story tell us about the existence of unfair system of justice? Unfair system of justice को बारेमा के भन्छ? No human can judge the best than the God. How much educated and intellectual people are, sometimes they do mistakes in imparting justice to people. Justice is made on the basis of evidences the authorities see through its eyes. There are various practices of unfair justice in the world. Lack of proper investigation is also responsible for putting innocent people in jail. In the story, the authority finds a blood-stained knife in Askianov's bag. On the basis of that evidence, he was put into bars. The knife was not properly investigated. The police authority could find fingerprints of the murderer, but only on the basis of finding of blood-stained knife, possibly used for killing the merchant. Askinov was arrested, flogged, and kept in bars in Serbia for 26 years. Even this Tsar denied accepting the petition. His wife also suspected him. People spread a rumor about him. This story better tells us about the existence of unfair system of justice. When the justice system of this world, controlled by flawed humans, fails, Askinov, he puts his faith in God's plan. He knows that only God knows the truth about him, and thus God is the only authority to whom he should appeal. In prison, Askinov transforms into a humble and God-fearing figure, spending the little money he earns from making books on a book about the lives of saints. Officials and prisoners respect him for his fairness and resolving disputes as though he himself has turned into a religious figure. Askinov's faith in God's will is so strong that even when he learns of the circumstances that led to his plight, he believes he must be wicked to have deserved the torturous life God gave him.